Hello everyone, this is Tina with Tia's Treasures. A quick unboxing and some cards from December Pink and Main's card kit. Not January, but December. I have not even opened this yet. Pretty sure it's not a Christmas card kit, which is why I left it to the side. So let's see what's in here and make some cards. We'll take everything out first. And there goes the box. Just slid off something. My room is a mess. We have got, of course, just like always, we have this handy dandy mesh envelope that fits our entire contents of our kit. Let's go ahead and start with the color palette. We have a gray. It's a nice gray. Nice, I think a warm gray. A purple. Love me some purple. Pink. That goes so nice with the gray and the purple. And this is a light lilac purple. This was my favorite color growing up. Every room I ever had when I was a little girl had to be this color. My mother's like, aren't you sick of that? Nope. And when I got older, I probably could have painted my room in this too, but I don't think my husband would have liked it. So anyhow, this is kind of my new favorite color lately though, is this nice aqua blue. Love it. And now we have two sheets of ice rink. So that's a gorgeous color palette. Let's see what's in the kit. I don't know what this is. It looks intriguing. Look at that. It is a sample size of winter green embossing powder. Ooh, well, we're just going to have to do some embossing. Oh, it's all sparkly. Pretty. I just heard one of my dogs growling. It's like 9:30 at night. I don't know what he's growling at. And what is this? Oh, look at that. We have a magic anti-static brush with the powder. And if you guys have watched any of my videos, you know I always forget to use this stuff. So, hopefully I'll remember to use it because we have this great gift. Love it. Paper pad. Snow day. Okay. And it is taped down here, so let's untape it. It's got one of those nice little semicircle stickers on it. There we go. So we have snowflakes and dashes, zigzags, diagonal lines, stripes. See a lot of dashes on this side. Mittens, more mittens and some hearts and some snowflakes. And little hearts and snowflakes, more snowflakes. Nice little plaid. I love these plaids. Snowflakes, snowflakes, gray and pink snowflakes. Two tone on tone purple snowflakes. A gingham, more snowflakes, gingham, snowflakes, gingham, dashes, and I think this is starting over. Yep. Okay, so that's our lovely color paper pad. You know, we do get this postcard that tells us everything that's in it, but I just get to it when I get to it. It says Hello Winter there, so I would guess we have a die or a stamp that says Hello Winter, even though we're in January, which means, yay, winter's only got like a couple more months of really hard winter before we're into March, which is the beginning of spring, somewhat. Oh, look at this stencil. It is a stencil that has mittens. Can you see that? Probably not on white. Little mittens and hearts and snowflakes and dots. That would be really fun for like Christmas or just winter or whatever you want to do with it. And we have this great, oh, look at these sequins, kind of the confetti type with some silver and iridescent and looks like some white. And there are enamel dots with glitter in them. Beautiful. Real fun. Snowflake embossing folder. And we have, well, you've seen our dies, which we have a border of mittens, a snowflake, happy winter days, let's get cozy, hello winter, let's snow, warm winter wishes, baby it's cold outside, wishing you well. So that looks like it could be fun. And our dies are a couple of mittens. I don't think they match with anything on here. We've got this little snow globe, which obviously would make a great little shaker, and it looks like that would fit there. And we could possibly, I don't know, well, that wouldn't really fit any of these sayings though, but I'm sure I have plenty of other little sayings that would fit in there. I'll have to mess with it, but this die here will fit that, I'm pretty sure. And then we have a little heart die, and we have this will fit so. But I am really intrigued by this die here. It's like, what will it fit anything? Wishing you well. No, I don't know. I'm just gonna have to play with it and see what happens. At any rate, let's go ahead and make a few cards. So for this first card here, I am going to go ahead and I am going to use the embossing powder. But before we can use the embossing powder, we have got to do some stamping. And so I cut out a piece of the lavender cardstock. It's a 2 size, and I am using the anti-static tool. You can see right here. Now for this one, you pull down the over the brush. You pull it down over and then you slide it back up. It just goes over the brush, and you kind of shake it a little bit to get your anti-static powder out. And then I'm just kind of pulling that back up to protect my brush when I put on the plastic cap. Now this rabbit one, you move the I don't know what you call it, you move the centerpiece over the brush to kind of move the powder up and down and to protect the brush when you put the cap on, and then you move it back down the centerpiece. And so they're a little bit different. They're not exactly the same, in case you were wondering what the difference of the two are. But anyhow, moving on, we are going to put the big snowflake stamp right in the center, well, the upper center of our lavender cardstock. It's a little higher to the top, and I'm going to take the smaller snowflake and I'm putting that off to the side because I am going to be moving that small snowflake all over the pattern paper because I want to heat emboss snowflakes all over the front of this paper. And so I'm using some Simon Says Stamp embossing powder, and I've got this embossing powder, the embossing ink, and I've got it really sped up here so you can see what I'm doing. And these are showing up pretty good because I am stamping them like twice or more if they need it. And I am just trying to move them all over the place. And I don't know if you noticed, but because I'm watching how quick this is, I'm like trying to talk really quick, and that wasn't the point. The point was just so you could see what I'm doing without me like speed talking. So I will try to slow back down. So this is what I remember. There are some small little like diamonds in there, like diamond snowflakes, and so I stamped those all over. They don't show up as dark as like the double stamping, so I wasn't sure if the embossing powder was going to stick as well, but it did, and I just sprinkled all of this sparkly embossing powder all over my card front. Now, I don't know about you, but when I am um, heat setting or melting this embossing powder with sparkles, sometimes I have a hard time telling when it's melted. And there were a few spots on this card I think I over melted the powder. The upper right or the upper left hand corner was one of the so-called pieces that I really over melted it, but I didn't let it stop me because the rest of this card turned out so beautiful. Now this sparkly embossing powder almost looks a little like silvery gray on the lavender. I probably should have done some on white cardstock so we could compare, but I didn't. I just did it on this lavender cardstock, and because I think lavender and kind of the blue tint, bluish gray silver tint is pretty, whatever way you want to look at it. And so I get it all heated up, and like I said, it took me a while because I would look at it and try to tell if that was powdery or just the glitter on top. And I finally got it all done. And as always, I ended up warping my card base, but I'm going to tape it down so it's going to be okay. Now I took a separate piece of the lavender cardstock and I am stamping on it Warm Winter Wishes. And I am going to heat emboss that with some white embossing powder. Now I'm using some Wow white embossing powder for this. I don't know what it is, but I have sometimes too heavy of a hand when I'm stamping, so I've been trying to be a little bit more careful when I am doing the stamping so my letters don't look squished into each other. And I think they turned out okay on this one. They don't look all squished together. And we're going to just get that heater going. And I am going to cut this down so it is a strip that goes across the entire card. Now I cut this card down to 4 by 5 and a quarter, and that's what I end up cutting my strip down, my Warm Winter Wishes strip. And I'm going to go ahead and I am going to pop that up with some foam tape. And I'm going to put it pretty much in the center of my snowflake there. Now you're just seeing me cut it down to the right size. And we're going to get that going with a little bit of foam tape that through the magic of editing, you're not going to have to watch me pull off all of the backing. And see, I've got this sped way up too, so you're not going to see how long it really takes me to tape a card front because I kind of go pretty slow with that stuff. But I have so much of this adhesive that I'm going to try to use up some of it. Otherwise, I will have adhesive for years and years and years. My husband bought me a box of it. Don't ask. I think I explained it in another video, but if he sees it on my wish list, even if I just kind of put it there as a placeholder, I end up getting some of that stuff. So I got to watch what I put on my wish lists. So anyhow, I have a T-square here so I can get this nice and straight because anytime I make a card, something is always crooked on it. So in this case, I'm trying to get it straight. And I still have to kind of mess with that a little bit to get it straight, even with the T-square. And now I'm just going to put a few enamel dots scattered all over this front to give it a little bit more sparkle, even though our snowflakes are so sparkly. And I like the way this turned out. It's kind of a fun looking card, even if my like smaller snowflakes look a little bit squished, but I'm not sure if that's me that squished them down too hard or the stamps. But as long as the center snowflake, you know, has a lot of good detail, what the heck. It still, I think, turned out pretty good for all intents and purposes. And now, moving on to my second card. This one was a lot of fun. So I went ahead on this card and I took out some taffy colored ink, some Hero Arts taffy colored ink. Now, don't ask me why I was using Hero Arts with the pink and mane, because for some reason I was thinking in the back of my mind I was working on a Hero Arts kit, but I don't have any pink and mane ink anyway, so it really wouldn't have mattered what ink I ended up using. But because I was thinking Hero Arts, I didn't have that many selections for a pink ink. But I like that pink ink. But the pink ink that I did use, I think looked pretty good on this card anyhow. So I'm just trying to get it on there pretty good. My little tone on tone. If it's a lot darker than the original cardstock, is that still tone on tone? I don't know. I kind of think when I think tone on tone, I think of closer in color. But I mean, these are both still pinks, so I guess technically it's tone on tone. So again, as you see, I'm pretty sped up here because I don't want you to have to watch me all day doing the blending here through the stencil. And I tried to wipe it off with a paper towel. That was not happening. So put it off to the side. We'll get to it. At least it's not going to dry in there like cement. So now I'm taking another piece of pink cardstock and I am stamping out the snowflake again in the Simon Says Stamps clear embossing ink, and I am also taking the sentiment let it snow, and I'm stamping that out in the clear ink as well. And I am going to go ahead and I'm going to heat emboss these in white, not in the pretty embossing powder that came with the kit, but just the Wow fine detail white again. And after we do that, I am going to die cut out the snowflake, because if you recall, we have the die that goes with the snowflake. So why not? I have a plan for this mitten background, the mitten and heart background. And what I want to do is I am going to pop up my snowflake on top of that background. And this die just works wonderfully on the snowflake. And now I don't have a die for the Let It Snow background here, but what I'm going to do here is kind of almost ingenious in a way. I'm going to take a pencil, and because I like the way the stamp actually outlines the sentiment itself, I'm going to trace the stamp, and I'm going to use that to help me fussy cut around the sentiment. Now I don't get a really great tracing on it, but it doesn't matter. It's in light pencil. It's just kind of a guideline for me. And then any of the pencil that I don't end up cutting off, the pencil lines, I'm just going to erase, and it's on there so lightly that you're not going to see it. And so I find it was a really help to go around this sentiment, since the sentiment had like the pictures of the mittens and some little like sparkly, little snowflakes and dots and different things. And so this really was very helpful for cutting it out and fussy cutting it. And I'm going to pop up the sentiment as well. I almost wish in hindsight that I would have done the sentiment in a different color to make it a little bit easier to read. I mean, in real life, you can read it, but you have to. It wouldn't be something that you could read if it was on your fireplace mantle. You'd have to go up to it and look and say, oh, yeah, okay, I see what it says. But if it was in a different, darker color, I think it would be much easier to read at a distance. Then again, how many people are reading their cards at a distance? They get them in the mail, and then they look at them, and then they know what they say, even if they are, like, on a shelf. So I went ahead and cut down my card base, or my card front, to 4 by 5 1/4, and I'm popping up that nice lovely snowflake again, and I'm going to put it right in the upper center, just like the first card. And we popped up that Let It Snow, and we're going to kind of center that right under our snowflake. And I am taking some of those enamel dots again, and I am just going to put a few on there for some sparkle. Now, I did have some sparkly white embossing powder, and I thought about using that, but I get nervous when using like glitter embossing powders because so often I end up like blowing the glitter off, and like I said, I tend to overheat them, and so I think I work a little bit better with the regular embossing powder. Now for this next card here, I went ahead and I used the blue cardstock, and I used the embossing folder to emboss it with the snowflake background, and I also cut out the little snow globe, but I took some fun foam and I cut out 2 pieces of that. It was a thinner fun foam, and I glued it all together with like a circle of acetate, and then I put the lilac on top of that, the lilac paper. And now I'm going to put another piece of lilac paper because I just was looking at the one that's on I was just didn't like the way the one that was already glued down looked. I think I had it on there upside down, and I could see like the die plate lines, if that makes sense. When you get a die plate, one of your plates that you've cut into a whole lot of times, sometimes that shows up on your paper, and I accidentally put it on showing, so I cut out another piece, but that worked out fine because I was able to use this second die cut piece to line up the inside of the snow globe, which I cut out, and I wanted to use a piece of pattern paper for. So I hope everything I said made sense. Now, because I used the white fun foam, I did take a Copic marker, and I kind of just colored the outside of the fun foam in a little bit purplish color. It doesn't match totally, but it's not as stark as the white fun foam. And like I said, fun foam does tend to stretch out a little bit when you cut it, die cut it. So it does show a little bit more than it might if it was just cardstock stacked. So here I have a piece of pink glitter cardstock that was just in my stash, and that's what that one die was for, that one that I was talking about maybe fitting a sentiment in, but I didn't go searching for a sentiment in my stash that would fit there. I just went ahead and, figured we'd put some sparkly cardstock there. And now I am putting some of the sequins, the little, what would we call these things? The confetti sequins. We're going to put a little bit of them right in the middle here. Don't want to put too many of them, but I want to make sure that they are down. I don't want to have to try to fit the, I'm going to put them down first. I'm not going to put them in the center and then try to flip it over. That would be a very bad thing. And we're just going to glue this down and try to stand up so I can see and fit it exactly over my little snow globe area there. It can be a little bit tough sometimes getting it lined up, but I managed to do it, and I get it all glued down nice. Now I am going to take the sentiment, "Baby, it's cold outside," and I'm going to stamp that out on another piece of this lavender or lilac or whatever color you want to call it cardstock. And I double kind of stamped a little bit here, so I had to redo it. So we just turned the paper over and did it again. Now, if you notice, this is the first time I'm using black ink here, and I edited it out, but in between the turning my cardstock around, I accidentally grabbed my clear embossing pad without cleaning it out off, and my clear embossing pad now has a black stain on it from where I used that instead of the black ink accidentally. The things I go through to try to make a nice card. So we have the "Baby, It's Cold Outside," and I am going to pop that up. It's not going to be popped quite up as far as my snow globe, but then it didn't need to be because we don't have sequins underneath it. But I did want it popped up a bit so it's not just flat on the card. So I am going to tape it down. Now, if I was smart, I would have taped my background down first instead of trying to put tape on it with the shaker element in the middle there, but it still worked out. I was able to get it to tape without ruining anything. And there we go. I thought I was done, but then I decided let's put a few of these sequins on the outside for a little extra shine, give a little bit more interest. So in between some of these embossed snowflakes on the front, I just put some of these confetti sequin pieces down and get them all glued down here. And this turns out to be a fun card. I love it. I love all my cards. Okay, I don't love all of them. I love maybe 75% of them. Some of them I do and go, eh. But still, I keep them and I look at them and I go, well, okay, I'll send that to someone I don't like. But none of these cards are going to people I don't like. I'm just rambling out of here again. You know, I gotta do something while I'm gluing down these sequins. So this is card number 3. Now we're going to be moving on here to card number 4. Now, when I was doing this one, I am going to do a little bit more embossing with some white embossing powder, and I forgot to use my static tool. I mean, brand new static tool. How could I forget? It's right in front of my face. As a matter of fact, I have 2 of them right in front of my face, and I still forgot to use it. So I have a little bit of stray embossing powder here and there on this strip of mittens that I'm embossing. But I decided I wasn't going to do it again, that unless you were looking for something to criticize, that you wouldn't even notice it. And honestly, last card of the night, this was like almost 10:30. I was getting a little sleepy, so I'm just like, I'm just going to finish this up. And so using some more Wow embossing powder, get that all sprinkled down and tapped off, and just trying to get it to where it would stick but wouldn't stick really in the places I didn't want it to too much. And this is, you know, me kind of thinking, should I redo it? And be, nah, it looks pretty good. And now I wouldn't be entering this into any card contests, but like I said, I think it still turns out pretty dang cute, even if I did forget to use the anti-static tool. So I am taping down some 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 cardstock onto the front of this card base, and I'm having this blue cardstock go all the way to the end because that's what I want my frame to be. And I've got this piece of pattern paper, and it's my normal, 4 by 5 1/4 that I am putting down there. And I am going to cut out this strip of mittens down to 4 inches, no, it would be 5 1/4 inches, so it goes right down the front of the cardstock. And that's kind of going to be our stripe going down the front of the cardstock. And I'm just going to tape a couple tape strips down here. So I hope everybody's having a fun January. I have a couple more card kits I'll be doing in the coming weeks. I have another snowflake one, I believe, by Simon Says. And then I should have, well, here, that's January, so I'm going to try to get back on track. This should be the last December card kit I'm doing. So we should be moving into January card kits pretty soon. So I am stamping out here, Hello Winter. Again, forgot to use my powder tool. Like I said, this entire card I just forgot. But we're going to heat emboss this with the white embossing powder again. Try to get that down, looking pretty good. And once I get that nice and heat embossed, you're not going to have to watch me do the entire thing because that would probably take forever. But once I get it heat embossed and warped like normal, I am going to cut it out. I'm going to fussy cut this. And I honestly didn't think I'd be showing me even doing this much of the heat embossing before I edited it. But, doing the editing before I do the heat embossing, or editing before the heat embossing, that made no sense. When I do the editing, and then the voiceover way later, I kind of forget sometimes what I cut out and what I didn't. So if you noticed here, I did use the pencil again to trace the stamp so I could go around it because I wanted it to follow the contours of the stamp, and I fussy cut that out. And I am going to glue this down flat too. This card has nothing popped up at all. It's entirely flat. And I just was trying to figure out where I wanted to glue that. I wasn't sure at first, and I would have put it more towards the bottom if I would have been using a lot more bling on this card, because it just would have been too bare at the bottom without like a ribbon or something to break it up. Now, as it was, I put it kind of towards the center right here, and then I put 3 different enamel dots just right up there in the right hand corner. And I probably could have put a lot more scattered throughout this card, but I thought the snowflakes and everything just kind of made this a real simple card, and I didn't want it to be too overbearing and make it too gaudy, which I think if I would have just thrown a bunch of enamel dots, it would have been. So here are my 4 cards. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you didn't enjoy it and just hate watched it, give it a thumbs up anyway. Or I'd love to have you as a subscriber. I'd love to get myself up to 550. I'm working my way there. So anyway, bye bye for now, everyone. Love ya.